Welcome, everybody. I'm Cathy, the business book strategist, wanting to welcome you to this masterclass. I'm so excited that one of my authors who has gone on to do great things and helped other authors is Stephanie Fager. She is the author of Color Today Pretty. I don't know why I was stumbling. And she has helped a number of other authors along the journey in getting their books out there, marketed. And she's a big believer in the power of marketing. She has a marketing background. So she has just been so helpful for so many of my authors. So with that, Steffi, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Take it away. I will be monitoring the chat. So if you do have questions or comments, please put them in the chat. And then we'll let Stephanie answer our questions. So take it away, Stephanie.
Thank you, Cathy. It was such a pleasure to have the opportunity to come today and to be invited back into the community that helped build me as an author and push me on my journey to being an author and beyond, which we'll get to a little bit of that here in a moment. But I have to say, when I was sitting where you all were, either on the verge of your first book coming out or the next couple, I was more, Cathy can probably attest to this, I was more excited about marketing the book than I was actually writing the book. And I thought that was like the best part of a book journey. And it made sense to me, especially now that you know, after Cathy introduced me, that I'm a marketer by trade. I thought everybody has to love this. Until about a month ago, I probably still believed this. And then this author, who I just adore, we have become fast friends, sent me an email and said, Stephanie, I would rather clean toilets than market a book. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm an anomaly, that I live on this island of people that love marketing and isn't overwhelmed or stressed out by it. I enjoy it. And that's when I started to realize, well, and I knew before, but it kind of reaffirmed to me that this marketing stuff can be very overwhelming if it's not something that's ingrained into your DNA from the beginning. In fact, it's something that can be so scary that you don't even start. And let me tell you guys, if you don't start now, will you? And if you start now, what can it do for you later? You know, I think back to my marketing journey over the last several years. Color Today Pretty is the book Cathy shared, acknowledged that she helped me with. It's the first book on this little book stack here, and it's my first book that came out. But that came out in 2018. And if I had waited any longer for that book to come out, it would have shifted everything in my life. And I feel the same way about marketing. And that's why I think it is so important that we start marketing our books from day one. So since my book has come out, I've been able to help authors all over the US and beyond. I'm now working with some authors in the UK, in Canada, in Mexico. It's been a lot of fun in that journey too. But I've really started to be able to sift through the people that I get to help and realize what's the key differentiator between successful authors and those who have all of the right ingredients in the recipe, but are missing that one thing to make that amazing author cake, that amazing book process. And that is, in my opinion, coming down to marketing it from the beginning. If you're waiting till the last moment, it might be a little bit late. So I want to give you some tips today and walk you through, hold on, now my computer, 3 ways to market your book from day one. So we're going to talk about 3 different kind of concepts of this day one. The day one of when you are writing your book, beginning to write your book's in concept. What are some marketing things you can do at that point? What about the first day that you decide to publish? And I'll add the caveat there. I'm not talking about the day the book publishes. I'm talking about the day you go, oh, I now know what type of publishing approach I want to take. How can you begin marketing from that point? And what happens when the book is launched, when the book comes out to the world, and what we'll talk about in a little bit, not just the book launching, but I hate to break this to you all, and Cathy, I know that you talk to your people about this too. You're actually building a business, whether you like it or not. So the moment that that book comes out, this whole new business has just shown up in your lap. So how do you, that first day, begin to market your book as well? So I want to break it down into 3 easy ways to help you think through what to do now. Now, before I dive in, I do want to take a moment and share with you something. With all of the different authors I get the chance to work with, I've found a couple of commonalities, a couple of things with all of them that stick out and that are unique. And I think it's important for you all, kind of knowing where you're at. And I can't see Cathy. Oh, actually, I do want to know, Cathy, in the chat, some people have shared where they are in their journey. Tell me at a high level. We've got some people in the beginning, some people, tell me what you're seeing in there.
Yes, absolutely. I know that some of my published authors are on this call: Diane Bailey-Boulay, Renee O'Shaughnessy, and Cody, I know, is working on his book. Some other folks are just beginning the journey. Natalia is just beginning. So Patricia, though, has 5 books. So we have a really wide range of attendees here.
Okay, so I'm going to toss this out, and I would love if any of this resonates with you, say something in the chat. We'll have Cathy tell me. But what I have found from people like you guys on all ends of the published author, writing, aspiring, done 5 and more to come journey is that they probably are writing a book for one of 3 reasons. Yeah, I've pulled it down to 3, Cathy.
I like that. I like
hard
that.
To do. Yeah, it's probably because you want to share a message. So if any of these resonate with you, I want you to put in the chat, that's me. You've got a message to share. The second one is you want to leave an impact. And the third reason is because you want to make some money and you want to build a business. So I'm curious, any of those, is anybody yeah, no, Stephanie, you left out this one. It's probably one of the 3.
Yeah. So actually, Diane says 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. It's all of those. Doug says number 1. Sarah says leave an impact and entertain and inspire people. Yes. Jeff says all 3. So we have, a wide spectrum of responses, but I think you've hit on a magic formula there, Stephanie.
Well, Cathy, it is called my Empowered Author Framework, and it is at the heart of it. Yes. And it helps me, and it's good to kind of hear this today because it helps me figure out when I get to work with authors, how I can help them best, because understanding the transformational reason that you're writing a book helps you figure out how to market it successfully. I learned this when I had an author come to the table who I just wanted to help him launch this book. And he kept going, I don't really care if I sell any books. Yeah, right? He's like, it's not, I didn't write a book because I want to sell the book. I wrote a book because I want to leave an impact, and that requires me to start a business. So the book became a calling card. So once we kind of know the reason why you're writing a book, it helps you determine the best way to market it, because there's so many ways to market a book. So I get to help authors do all of that stuff. I make sure that they're writing a book that's marketable. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And Cathy, I know you agree, right? There's nothing worse than writing a book and then it not sell. Right? So we don't want that to happen. We also want to make sure that you're selling books, right? And that you know how to build businesses around your book and that empowering messages that can make a difference in the lives of other people. And that's what I'm going to take you through today, the first day of each of those, to kind of think through how you can market it. So let's dive into the first one. How do we market our book from the first day of writing? And I have to share with you guys that this is the approach that I used. And Cathy can attest to this as well, because she was a part of that journey with me. And I stepped back and I started to realize, before I wrote a book, there was a reason that I started marketing it in the beginning. And I didn't understand that until now. And these are things I want you to kind of think about too. So why would you start marketing your book now? Well, there's some reasons. The first one is you want to bring people on the journey with you. There is something beautiful about when you are writing, this accountability that this group of people goes, oh, Stephanie, I know you're writing a book and you got to get it done. I need it, right? These people want to be a part of that journey with you. And it builds this beautiful community when you are marketing the book, even though the book's not out yet. And let's be honest too, writing in and of itself is a very solitary experience, but it doesn't have to be. And I have found that when you start this marketing journey in that portion of it, it becomes something that's a celebration. Like every milestone you're celebrating and you're bringing people along that journey with you. What you don't realize that you're really doing is you're also inviting the reader into the experience. So in bringing them on the journey builds interest. They start going, okay, what is this book? Okay, interesting. I'm interested. Now you're also doing it in a way though, where you're inviting them. You're not hoarding this message and you're not keeping it to yourself. You're actually telling them, hey, you're a part of this with me. And interestingly enough, this goes along with writing a marketable book. You start to get insights from your readers early on that lets you know, this is something they might like, or stay away, this particular topic isn't interesting. And I think it's important early on to get that beta reader, whether you're sharing anything about your book or at all yet or not. You're starting to feel out the marketplace to see if the marketplace even is interested in your concept, your topic, or what you bring to the table. And then the third way is you encourage demand and you're creating it. So I feel like I need to share a little bit about my book specifically for this, because this is what I did. Color Today Pretty was never meant to be a book. It was never meant to be a book in my world. It was never meant to start a business for me. It was literally a conversation between me and God that evolved into something crazy big, because he had bigger plans anyways. But what happened was I decided one day, it was actually a challenge. A friend of mine said, hey, Stephanie, I think you should write a blog. And I remember thinking, why? Like, what a waste of my time and energy. Now, this was like a long time ago, guys. So now everybody, I think, should have blogs, and there are lots of great things with blogs, but I didn't understand the point of it. However, I do now, because what was happening is I was writing blogs about things that inspired me. And then one day someone came to me and said, yeah, when can I buy your book? And I'm like, a book? What are you talking about? They said, you need to write a book. And I'm like, you like it? Like, I didn't even know you liked this stuff. They're like, oh, I don't just like it. I need this. Like, I need it in my DNA. It's changing my life. And I'm like, my blog? And so this is where that conversation that happens in your head that doesn't always propel you, it holds you back. When you start to market your book in the writing phase, you will start to kind of move past some of these mindset challenges, because people will start coming out of the woodwork and demanding your book. I already had a group of like 50 people who wanted my book before I even ever thought of writing the book. So I think that right there is created a demand that helped me from the very beginning, just because I was willing to share a little bit about my book along the way. So how do you do it? Thanks, Stephanie. Yes, I want to market the book. I want to start marketing from day one with writing. How do I do it? So here's 3 tips to consider. Don't wait to build your platform. Do it now. And when I talk about the author platform, what I'm talking about is I want you to create a pipeline of visibility and presence and engagement now. That could be as simple as, hey, I'm not currently on social media and I need to get on there. Hey, I don't know which social media platform to get on. No worries. I got something for you later to help you figure that out. It might be, oh my gosh, I need to be a part of a group, the group of people who might be interested in my book, right? So start building this platform, create some visibility. And I don't think it's something you want to do later. Now, you notice I don't say build a book platform. So this is something I feel really strongly about. The book is a derivative of you. You are not a derivative of your book. So as an author, there's power in you. And for the lady who said, hey, I've written 5 books and more's coming, she's proof of that. If you focus all of your energy on marketing just this one book, then you've missed a whole opportunity, because what happens when book number 2 comes out, or 3 or 4 or 5? So I want you to build this author platform, because people are going to want to buy your book because they want to invest in you. So understand who your target audience is, who are your target readers, and where are they? And then start creating some visibility. Don't feel like this has to be perfect immediately. This can be something that over time you grow and get comfortable with. I actually do recommend, if social media scares you, start with one. Pick one social media platform, get comfortable on it, test it out, make mistakes. It's no big deal. Laugh at your mistakes, right? Your followers will think that's funny too. So be very authentic and laugh at that, and don't run away from that. Also, don't be salesy. So just because you're writing a book, don't go out there trying to say, I have something coming and you're going to want to buy it. That doesn't create conversion. What happens is when you're authentic and you're giving value. I always tell my authors, don't give in, don't give way, don't give up, give value. So when you're thinking about what to give value first. All right. Another way to do this is create an open line of communication with people, and start that now. So figure out, like, social media is a great way for that kind of give and take engagement. But make sure that you're communicating with people. And you notice I didn't say communicating to, I'm talking about communicating with, especially in this phase when you're marketing your book. You want to make sure that you're hearing from people, because you want them to be able to say, I really loved that. That was really interesting. And if you leverage social media as a platform to start with, then you've created a way for them to very easily share your stuff too. And listen, my favorite part of marketing, because I actually hate the word marketing because it has so many negative connotations, but my favorite part of successful marketing is word of mouth marketing, because people are more likely to invest in something when somebody else says that you are awesome. So we want to build those people who love you, trust you, believe in you, and support you, and want you to succeed now, before we get to the point of wanting them to help you sell the book. We'll get to that in a minute. And then the third way, and this is something that is, I feel like counter or very, very intuitive, but something that not a lot of us spend energy on in the beginning, and that's start building your lists of connections today. Figure out what types of systems in the beginning you might want to have in place before you just explode and the whole world wants you and you don't have time for it, right? So figure it out now while you're writing the book and just test little things. I'm a big believer in test before you invest. So some of these things are very expensive. You don't have to do that. Try some free things. Figure out what you're interested in. I'm still a MailChimp email believer. I love that as a CRM tool. It's very easy for early authors. Use that as a way. And when you have people that show interest, just say, hey, would you mind joining my email list? I'm not doing anything with it right now, but I would love to keep you on board and be a part of this journey with me. Is that something you'd be interested in? So I would make sure that you go and you speak to a group. You're part of a women's club. You go to a Bible study. People show interest in just you in general and what you're doing. Say, would you be interested in me keeping you updated? Because it holds me accountable to the process, because this is a hard part of the book process, but I think you would really enjoy this. So if you're creating that list now, I know in the future, you will be thankful when you're trying to sell the book later. You'll have a list of hundreds of people instead of 10 and wishing you had more. So start that now. Okay, let's go to the second big step. And this is the second kind of phase in the process. You're still probably working on your manuscript here, but you've decided, you know what, it's time to figure out the publishing approach I want to take. Either I've got this amazing publisher I'm working with, or I'm going to self-publish, or I've got it to a literary agent. Whatever your approach, I want you to start marketing your book from the first day of the publishing journey. I am not talking, we'll talk about the third one is when the book's published and out there, but this is that process when things get fun, when things get interesting, when the manuscript is about to be handed over to somebody else and you feel like you're delivering a baby to somebody and you're terrified and your hands are shaking, but it's exciting. Okay, so that's the phase that I'm talking about when I'm talking about how can we market from day one of this part of the journey. Why do we want to do it? We're going to start at the why. Well, this is interesting, and this is something if you don't know already, but publishing is something most people want to do, but very few people will. I love to tell groups that I get to speak to, I love sharing with them that, hey, I bet majority of you all out here want to write a book. And I know that this is true because afterwards, you're all going to come up and talk to me about how excited you are to write a book. There's nothing more exciting and makes my head want to explode than going into a group and they find out that I've written a book and then everybody tells me their stories about that they want to write a book. Everybody does. This is weirdly something most people want to do. This is not something I wanted to do. So I always, when they bring that to me, I'm always like, oh, awesome. I'm so excited. You know your journey, because I didn't know my journey and it brought me here. But congratulations on knowing that. But the reality is most people may not take that next step, or it might take decades before they do. So I bring that up because if you start sharing the journey of the publishing process and what it's like, and you begin to market this book through that, again, that authentic sharing and connection, what happens is it builds curiosity. And there are people out there in your network that may not have ever even considered what your book's topic is about, or may not have even been interested in your book's marketing or your book's journey or you as an author until they found out that you are writing a book. And then they're interested because they wanted to write a book. And this is interesting. And now their interest is piqued and they want to follow your journey, and they now are bought into the process because they're intrigued by things that you might feel are common knowledge or not a big deal. Like the day you hand your manuscript over to the publisher, the day that you're sitting at a coffee shop and you want to pluck your eyeballs out because you don't want to read your book and edit it one more time, like 5 times is enough, right? These are things that the commoner out there, the common person that's not a published author, will find so interesting, especially those who are interested in publishing a book. Some of my largest supporters when my book was coming out were these people, and it was really interesting to me. And one of them was actually a guy I went to college with that I didn't realize we were as close of friends as he thought we were. I mean, it's great. I really enjoy it. Like, we're still friends today, but he embraced this process, not so much because it was the book. He fell in love with the book later and helped me do tons of stuff, but it was because he thought it was cool that he knew someone that was publishing a book. So this journey is something, as you're leveraging that author platform, there is very, you are an anomaly, you guys. This is not something everybody does. Another reason why you might want to do this, and you might want to do this now, is because your next business opportunity is probably watching. It could be a collaborator. It could be a client. You might not have even known that you wanted clients. You might even have known that you wanted your book to turn into a business. Listen, I feel like I am a prime testament of that, but these people are watching, and they're watching and observing. And this could be, this could be your next investor. This could be anything, but they're watching right now. So marketing your book at this phase could open doors for you in ways you have never even considered. So don't wait until the book is launched. You want to, from day one at this place, start marketing it. And the third why that I want to share is this. We know this is truth. It takes people lots of times to see something before they do anything with it. So if you wait until the book comes out and that's the first time you tell anybody, you're missing some stuff, because you need to build some energy, excitement, and consistency for people to then one day go, oh yeah, now I care about that book, right? They probably cared about it. They could have cared about it the whole time, but with social media algorithms, Amazon algorithms, the way Google works, the way our brains work, the explosion of information that we are consuming daily, the more we can tell people in authentic ways, the more likely that someone will take action. And we want that conversion in the long run because, right, remember, we wrote a book because we want to leave an impact. We want to make a legacy. We want to make a difference. And let's be real, we want to make some money. We want to sell some books. That would be a lovely reason too. All right, so how do we do this? So here's 3 kind of tips to get there. I know Cathy will love this one, but first of all, you got to write a book that's marketable. And so I do tell a lot of authors this phase of the journey with working with a publisher, especially depending upon your publishing approach, can be a little overwhelming. There could be times that you just want to take a couple weeks to the beach and forget about it all. There are times you'll want to run away. But the best way to market a book is to make sure your book is marketable and will sell itself. To make sure the content is strong, to make sure it's written to somebody who will doesn't just want your book, but need your book. And that is something I think there's a key differentiator there, because here's the deal. We are asking people to make an investment when they buy the book. And I'm not talking about just a financial investment. We're asking them to do a time investment too. So most nonfiction books, if you're reading them, are like, I don't know, 7 to 9 to 10 hours to read. Or if you're like me, I only get like 10 minutes a day to do it. So I have to space that over, months. So we're asking for an investment. And when those people invest in us, in the book, and then they love it, they're going to tell people about it. And that is more profitable in marketing dollars than any marketing dollars you could invest. So let the book market itself. Focus on the content. When authors come to me, and there's very few, because I told you about the lady who would rather clean toilets than market. But those authors that come to me and say, Stephanie, I'm ready to market. And I get excited too, because I'm ready to do it too. I always stop and say, is have you written the book? Like, is the manuscript ready? Like, is it in the publisher's hands? Are you close? Do you have most things in place? Don't spend a ton of energy doing tons of Facebook ads or building out your website or all of this stuff that requires extra energy outside of doing kind of a slow drip of sharing and engaging, because you need to write a good book. Focus on writing a good book. So this is a big step in that process. Make sure that that book is not just a great book, it's marketable and it will market itself. Another thing to acknowledge here too is make sure that your book has marketing material built into it. This is something I see a lot of people forget the opportunity to do. But the back of the book, and I'm not talking about the back cover, but the back of the book content, like after you've written your book and there's the about author, many nonfiction books leverage those extra pages to provide lead magnets or email capture opportunities, ways to take the book off the pages, the message off the pages, and invite it into their lives. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about what you want people to do with your book? And listen, as a marketer by trade, when my book went to publisher, it wasn't until, I don't know, the second round of edits that I realized I didn't even have that figured out. And I talked to my publisher. I'm like, we need a marketing section in the back. Like, what do I want them to do? Do I want them to connect with me on social? Do I want them to take on a challenge and do something in the community at large? Like, what do you want to do? I want to work with these people? Do I want to be seen as a speaker? These are things you want to think about and make sure that that is built into your book, because again, that book's going to outlive likely the person that just read it. They might pass it along. So that can kind of help you market it. Another thing is to think through a launch strategy for your book early. So when the book is about in the publisher's hands, sometimes that can be, the publishing process could be a 3-month journey. It could be a 6-month journey. It could be a 30-day journey, depending upon how you're doing it, right? But when you are ready to make that move, you want to start thinking, okay, how do I want to launch the book? And there are 2 different ways to look at launch. One is, some people think launch is the day of releasing the book, and other people see launch as the day of telling the world when the book's out there. And those can be 2 different things. There's reasons for that. You might want to release the book early so you can get author copies and have them all in hand before you launch. You might want it to be on the same day. That requires some strategy for you to think through. But I do think at this phase, it's important to start thinking about what would your success metrics look like for a successful book launch? And I mentioned that because for me, I know this sounds really silly, but I just wanted to sell one book. I remember telling Cathy, if one person bought it, then my book's successful. I would be interested. I would love to at this point, Cathy, anybody look at the chat. What would success look like for you when your book comes out?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it like selling 1,000 copies? Is it, mine was just to make a difference in the life of one person. And I knew that would be success if that happened. But put it in the chat. I'm curious. And Cathy, if any of them come in, tell me what they're saying.
Okay. I'm putting the question in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, the book reaches someone who needs the story, Diane says. I love that. Very, very good.
I do too.
What else does success look like? Patricia says the book pays for itself.
Oh, no, that's a great success metric. Absolutely.
Yeah, Jeff says working with 30 clients a year to help them create a great place to work. So yes, making a difference in someone's life, Stacy says. Sarah says success would be selling 10,000 copies and making a bestseller list somewhere. Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, I love all of this. Did another one come through? I just saw the chat.
Yes, yeah. Book reaches those who are struggling, makes money, and creates a demand for speaking. Yes, Bob.
Nice.
Perfect.
I love all of that. Thank you all for sharing. So when people come to me and share what their success metrics are, I always like to work backwards. So you need 30 clients. You want 30 clients. So what does that look like? What do you need to do to get there? Is that 30 clients in a month, 30 clients over the year? So how many clients is that per month? Is that like 2.5 clients per month? Okay, who do you know that can help you get there? This is how my brain works. And I want you to think that way. You want to sell 10,000 copies. Awesome. And when you do, you tell me. I'm excited about that. But how would you do that? Well, you might want to look at bulk book sales. So who do you know that might buy 500 copies at a time? How can you start collaborating with strategic partners? Do you want to do some custom editions? Like all of these things. Did any others come in? Cathy, I see a couple more.
Yeah. So, and Natalia says, she's just starting to think about this herself, but she wants to write a book and she wants to make a difference, and she thinks that they could work together to create more of a speaking demand, which is absolutely true.
Absolutely. I love how you I love that in and of itself, the fact that you took the leap to write a book and you go, I don't know yet why or how or what success looks like. I'm learning, but I just know I have to get it off and get it out because the world needs it. And there is a way. I mean, honestly, writing the book in and of itself could be your success metric. I have a client who's like 70, even if nobody buys it, I need to prove to myself I can do something when everybody in the world told me I couldn't. So you will not be successful in this book process until you know what success looks like for you. And being clear and honest with that with yourself early on and in this stage is really important, because then you can build goals around it. You can build your strategies and your tactics and make sure everything beautifully aligns to help you reach that success metric. And then figure out, who do you need to help you get there? Or can I do it on my own? Like either way, that's really important. So I also think here, when you're thinking about your launch strategy and then you figure out your success metrics, once this phase, you're going to get some fun things along the way. You're going to get like your book cover, and you're going to get a beautiful little book stack like Cathy has right now on her screen, right? Like be smart, start sharing it with people. And it is okay to do that at this stage to build interest. I do usually say you want to make sure that there's a call to action sometimes. So is it to pre-order? Is it because you want them to weigh in on between two designs? Be thinking about some of that stuff, but start leveraging that and get a launch team together. So the gal who said, I want to be a bestseller, you need a launch team. I think all of us need a launch team. Call it a street team, call it whatever you want. It's a group of people who know you, love you, support you, and want you to succeed and are willing to get behind you to help you get there. I have lots of stuff on launch teams, so you can check that out on my website if you're like, I don't know what that is, and Cathy can help you too. But this is a good place to start thinking through your launch teams efforts. The third how on day one of marketing your book in the publishing process is to begin connecting and engaging with potential readers, collaborators, complementary service providers, all of that under all of those people. Start opening those conversations, figuring out how can, and this is where we give value, but how can we be strategic in helping one another, right? I'm gonna give you a great example. So my book, Color Today Pretty, is a book about how to find balance and perspective in life. And, at face value, it kind of is like a beach read. It's a book that it would be nice to read someday. Some people are like, oh, I want to read that. You do not want to ever hear someone go, oh, one day it would be nice to read your book. You want your book to be something people need, because if they need it, that means that they will invest in it now. Typically, I have a whole story on wants and needs and how I learned that in the grocery store aisle with a box of brownies when my husband and I just got married and it was our first grocery shopping trip. But the truth of the matter is there is a difference in wants and needs. And we want your book to be a need, because if it's a need, people have already allocated funds to needs. Wants is where all that discretionary funds come in. And a book can become a need. And I'm going to share an example on how that worked for me. So Color Today Pretty is really a lot about mindset. And there was something deep within me. I'm a very intuitive marketer and like intuitive human. And there was something inside me that said, Stephanie, there's a friend of yours and the two of you have to collaborate. I don't know how or why, but you have to. So she had been on my launch team. She'd been watching the journey. She'd been very supportive. And I just reached out to her one day. I said, Erin, I don't know why, but like, can we meet up at Panera? I just feel like what you're doing and what I'm doing, there's like some synergy. She is a nutritionist by trade, and she is a Beachbody coach. So for those who don't know, it's an exercise program you can do at home. So we met up for coffee and we thought about this like for several months. And one month we decided, okay, we're going to do a collaboration. It's going to be free. There's no cost. You don't even have to buy a book. You don't even have to join one of her programs. But we're going to come together because here's what we realize. If someone wants to leverage Erin's expertise, which is to eat healthier and take care of your body, there's a problem for many people to be able to make that happen. And that lives up here in your mind. There's something in mindset that holds them back from doing some hard things. And on the flip side, I realize that for me, when you clear up your mindset, your world opens and you have the potential to do anything you've ever wanted to. And it's kind of this holistic health that comes to the table. So we did an entire month where we had a Facebook group and we just invited people. We invited them and we loved on them, y'all. We just said, come on, we're going to do once a week a little Facebook Live, and we're going to give you inspirational quotes. And occasionally Erin will pop in and do a little exercise, and occasionally I'll pop in and give a little tip. That was it. And it was the biggest book selling month I have ever had, ever. And I didn't even have to sell the book, but it was because I had created an amazing strategy and collaboration with somebody who was a complementary service provider. She had people, I had people. I benefited, her people bought my book. She benefited, my people bought her programs. And it was a win-win for everybody. And even the people who didn't buy either, they walked away with such value that it kind of was like this pay it forward ripple. So if you're beginning these collaborations, sometimes they take a little bit of time. Start working on that now because it will pay off later. All righty. Last day one of marketing your book, when your book is launched. So this is where I am talking when you decide to tell the world, hello, my book is ready for you. I would love for you to buy it. Would love for you to do something with it. And you're ready to market it. So if you've been doing the marketing along the way, this will come easy. If you are at this phase of your book journey, no sweat. Like, you can still do some awesome marketing stuff now. And here's why it's important. No matter your reason for writing a book, the goal was to launch it. It's not a book until it's a book. So you got to this stage and we want you to continue to make that happen. And for the gal who mentioned, hey, I just want to write a book, like sometimes that is the goal. So don't do all of the hard work and then get to this stage and go, oh, I don't want to tell anybody because I'm a little uncomfortable putting myself out there. Listen, you wrote a book for a reason and your name's all over the book. So just own that and move on and say, I wrote this for whatever reason. I want to make an impact. I want to leave a legacy. I want to change somebody. I want to help somebody, whatever that is. You have to market it so that they can find you. So you don't want to let that stop you. You have a message and people will benefit from it. I have to remind this to my clients regularly. I have several who have some mindset issues navigating this process. And I have to say, listen, like, your people are going to have changed lives because of your message. Please don't hoard it. Please share it. Please give it. Please promote it. Please tell people. So, because they want to know, they just don't know, they want to know. And the way to do that is to continue your marketing efforts. And, and what I said, it's time. That goal you had, it's time to do it. It's time to make that impact. It's time to leave a legacy. And y'all, it is time to make some money, because I know that writing a book is no small undertaking of your time and your investment. So now it's time to get that investment back, and you have to keep that conversation going. So how do you do that? Well, take that author platform you've been working on and take it to the next level. So as you've been creating value, continue the value giving, but do it with a different level of cadence and engagement that keeps you top of mind. So now the book's out. So are you sharing book quotes and connecting that with relevancy and what's happening in the world today? Are you sharing reviews from other people? Are you starting to talk about how you want to build a speaking business around this and sharing little glimpses of when you go out and speak, right? So you're starting to tell people, hey, not only is the book out, but here's what I want you to do with it. Are you going to a book club? And, and leveraging your book there? If so, maybe pull together 10 questions that you could share with people who might have a book club that they're pulling together. So leverage that platform. And now, maybe you're comfortable with one social media platform. Maybe it makes sense to add another one. I do always tell all authors, you got to be on LinkedIn. whether you want to be or not. LinkedIn, especially if you want to build a speaking business or you want to do some of the other, derivative offerings from with a business related to your book, LinkedIn's a great place to be. But outside of that place, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of those other things really depend on where your target audience lives. So just get comfortable, be somewhere, and remain some form of consistency. You might also at this stage, I'd not say might, I would highly recommend, it's probably time to get a website, even if it's just a single page website, so that people know you're not giving Amazon or Barnes and Noble or anybody else, information. They're coming to you first. And that's important because Amazon is going to capture that info, but they don't share it. So find a way to have them come to you before they go somewhere else. And then ask your connections, ask these people to connect you. From the authors, the authorpreneurs I work with, those who are building the business around their book, many of them get nervous, like, well, I don't know, like, how do I begin my consulting work? Or how do I begin to find speaking gigs? It's usually one generation, maybe two generations from you. So who do you know that are connectors, people who love to love on people who've been supporting you along the process? And how can they connect you with someone that they know? Right? Like, I think of my experience of how I found Cathy. Very weird, serendipitous series of events, but this to show like the 7 degrees of Cathy Fyock, right? Like I had a breakdown at my pediatrician who invited me to a Bible study, which, like, who does that? And I'm Catholic. We don't even know about Bible studies. And I went anyways. And I go to this Bible study and I shared with the Bible study group a chapter of this book I'd been writing in silence. And someone there was making a little note on a paper, and I sit down and they push it over. Here's the name of a book coach. It's time for you to make the book happen. Okay. So literally, I would have never found Cathy had I not gone through some of these steps. Same with you and your next thing, whether that's another book, whether it's a bookstore, whether it is a group that you can take your book to. Your connections have connections. Don't forget that. And then the third one is know what you want to do next. Just like we talked about success metrics, understanding where you want to go. How can you get there if you don't know where it is you want to go? If where you want to go next is speaking, have you thought about the types of things you're going to speak on? If the next thing is to build a business, have you thought about how your book's going to help you get there? Think through what that next thing is and be prepared. You don't have to have it all together. If you're one of those people that have to get all of the things figured out first, like, I'm a big believer in building it as you're selling it, right? Because then you figure out if there's a demand for it, but have like a vague idea of a couple of things of where you would be interested in this book to taking you, because people are going to ask, and there's nothing worse than someone saying, would you come talk to my business group? And you go, yes. And then you smile at them and you haven't a clue what you're going to talk about because you haven't even thought about building a speaking business. Maybe you don't even want to do that. So knowing that from the beginning is just good. So there's a lot more that can happen, but I hope breaking it down in those ways makes this a little more manageable for you. And I've got 2 things that I want to leave you with. The first is, I mentioned earlier that social media in and of itself is a bit overwhelming. So I've pulled together, it's called The Entrepreneur's Guide to the Social Dilemma. I consider all of y'all entrepreneurs or authorpreneurs. If you want it, it's a guide that walks you through all of the steps on how to figure out where your audience lives, where's the right social platforms for you, and what are the things that you might need to do next in that process. Just shoot me an email. I'll send it to you. And my email's up here, stephanie@empowerprgroup.com. Because I think that would be helpful. As I was thinking through today, I'm like, I think that you all might find that really helpful. The other thing I wanted to share is I actually and host a podcast. It's called the Empowered Author Podcast. And I think that you would also find that really exciting and enjoyable. We're on a couple-week hiatus. We pick back up in December. But what you'll notice on that podcast is we do different seasons of 6 episodes where we dig super deep into different topics. This is intentional because I know as an author, topics in and of themselves go much deeper than just surface level. So we'll pick a topic that's relevant for authors and entrepreneurs and aspiring authors. And then we kind of break it into 6 really easy, digestible, comfortable, informational, fun and engaging episodes that you can listen to on your drive to work, or you can listen to while you're taking a shower. Cathy, I do that. That's when I listen to podcasts while I'm in the shower. But I feel like that kind of can take away the overwhelm and allow, if marketing is not your thing, allow kind of a dripped approach to evaluating different marketing strategies. It would mean a lot to me if you would follow that, subscribe, write a review. I feel like an author right now, and write a review on Amazon. That's one of the other things you want people to write reviews for you. The final thing is I just want, find me on social, connect with me. I love to share insights and thoughts, and I'd be happy to chat with you if there's anything that you're kind of like trying to navigate. And marketing's kind of my jam. Remember, I like that. I don't like cleaning toilets, but I absolutely, absolutely love marketing books. So before I pass it over to you, Cathy, I feel like anytime I wrap up kind of my portion of any workshop, I feel like I have to end it how I ended on my podcasts. And it's this: empowered people empower people. And I've empowered you. It's your turn to empower other people. So I truly believe that as authors, you are empowering people, and don't stop today. Don't let marketing be something that hinders you from doing that. Actually, let it propel you and empower other people. All right. I think I went fast enough, so we have some time for questions.
That is so fabulous. Well, we do have some questions already, Stephanie.
Awesome.
And the first one came from Sarah. She says, she loved the idea of creating a need and having your readers understand that it's a need. But how do you do that with a fiction book? Or can you do that with a fiction book?
Oh, you absolutely can. It's a little more challenging because just in general, just in the nature of fiction versus nonfiction, it's a little more challenging, but you can. Okay, so fiction books to me transport you out of life, right? Like when I'm reading a fiction book, it's because it's time for me to get out of the moment and to get into something else, to feel like I'm on the beach when I'm stuck here, in my home and got so many demands. It's that opportunity to get away. But I have seen a specific author who's done a phenomenal job of leveraging a fiction book as a way to talk about things in life that might be heavy. I'm a big Jodi Picoult fan. If y'all have not picked up Jodi Picoult, oh, please, any book is good. Any book is good. I'm in the process of owning everyone. But what she does through her fiction books is Sarah, I'm not sure what your fiction book's about. In fact, I'd be happy to jump on a phone call and we can chat through some ideas. But what I was going to say is Jodi Picoult comes up with timely topics that are relevant and probably controversial, and she leverages a fiction setting to open doors and allow for conversation. She has figured out a way to do that and kind of leverage what's timely in the world and create a fiction book around it. And I call her the author that breaks down walls and builds bridges. It's a woman who I've never read a book. I picked up this one book because I thought the cover was beautiful. And the topic of the book was on something that I would never have delved into. And I walked away a better person from it. So I think, Sarah, if you can look at how does your fiction book change somebody, even if it's just meant to transport them, then speak to that and find the people that need that and make sure that you're leveraging marketing as a way to use your book to get them there. So think of that transformation of what happens before they read their book and after. And if that transformation is merely to be able to breathe, to find peace in life, to learn something, that's okay too.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Hey, something else that this was not a question that was written in, but it's something that I just kept thinking of while you were talking, Stephanie, is I love what you did when you first got your author copies of your book. And would you tell the story of what you did and how you shared that with folks? Because I thought that was beautiful. And it made me cry. It made other people cry. It made people buy books. It was great.
Yeah. So when you can, this is, this is marketing done right, when it's authentic, but it works and you can connect with people emotionally in a way that means something that does transfer into sales. So when I got my first box of books, I opened it live on social media. I leveraged with my Facebook group that I had, that was my launch team, and then I did something larger. But I opened the book, and for the first time I ever got to touch or feel the book, like I did it with the group that helped me with getting there. Like days that I wanted to fall apart, like they were with me when I opened it and when I touched it. And when I got to see, like, I'm emotional thinking it, when I got to see like something inside that like I never even thought about happen. And then I read a part of the acknowledgments to my launch team and larger, because I wanted people to know, again, I did not write the book because I wanted to be like this amazing human that made millions of dollars. That wasn't my goal. It was because I needed it as much as everybody else. And I wanted to thank the people along the way. And it got a lot of people excited. And it felt good on my end. I was doing it because I really meant it. And I think that's probably, Cathy, a big thing to note. Like, I have seen other people do that because I work with them and I give them that idea, but it doesn't connect the same if you don't mean it. So think about it and mean it.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of my authors did something sort of similar, but I thought it was really effective. She filmed the opening, and she actually wanted her dad to see her, because she was writing the book for her dad. And so she took the unopened box to her dad and had her husband film it. And oh my gosh, it was it was great, because it was real. It was really authentic, but it was a connection, a personal connection between you, the author, and your reader. And that makes all the difference.
I call that an Easter egg, Cathy. So like, think of these little Easter eggs, not the ones that you hide and forget and they go like moldy. Like, we're talking about little Easter eggs that you put around places that you're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Your potential reader, if it's not something that's in the book, if there's something else you can share early that is like, oh, that's an interesting little tidbit. Like, I wrote the book for my dad, I want him to be a part of it. That's a cool Easter egg. People find excitement when they get the chance to learn something new about you, about what you do, about why you do it. And when you share those little moments, that differentiates you from other people.
Yeah. So answer this question, Stephanie, because sometimes I think authors get so close to their own book, their own material, that they don't see what might be obvious to someone else or see that connection point. So talk to us about how we as authors look at our books with that fresh perspective.
That is so important. I can't say that loud enough. I don't care if you're an editor by trade, get someone to edit your book. I don't care if you're a marketer by trade, have someone to brainstorm your marketing stuff with. I don't care if you know this content inside and out. Actually, if you do, that's probably problematic in the sense that you are so close to it that you might put too much into some of these things that people don't need. And that was a part of my process. And I remember finding someone who knows me, loves me, believes in me in the editing process. I said, all right, this was so meaningful. And then he went back and looked and he goes, I love it, but we don't need all of this. So here's what we don't need, and here's what you do need. And it's so smart for wherever you are in the journey to get an outside perspective, whether that's your beta readers, whether that is a friend, a mentor, whether it's you investing in someone like me that comes to the table that can help you think bigger and think more, not just think differently, but think different altogether. Because there is likely something right at your fingertips, right outside of you that could be game changing. But if your blinders are on, and listen, even if you try your blinders to come off, they're going to be on because this is your baby. And you're just like, and this is awful, just like people who have babies who aren't that cute think their babies are cute, right? Same thing, right? Like, you always think your babies are cute. So you love that stuff because this is something you've birthed. You've got to have an objective opinion outside, but find whoever that is, find that person to be someone that you trust, but you know isn't just going to sugarcoat something. They're going to tell you the truth because they want you to succeed. And that is the best type of mentor, collaborator, team member, is somebody that wants you to succeed. So they're willing to say the hard things to you.
Yes. So it could be a group like my speaker author mastermind group. Or Stephanie, tell us a little bit about the services that you offer. What are the things that you do for authors? Because I know you provide a number of wonderful services.
I do. Yeah. Thanks, Cathy. So there are 3 signature programs that the Empower PR group has. Those programs are 3-month programs where we dive in really in 12 weeks and we get you all nice and beautiful and set up and ready to go. And they range based on if you're trying to make sure your book is marketable, to launching that book, to building that author business. And those programs are great for people who want someone on their team in the weeds, holding their hand and supporting them. There are other people though who go, Stephanie, I just want your brain for like a little bit. Can I just have your brain? And so for those people, I have a lot of fun with diving into some, really, really deep dive strategy sessions. So we have a 1 hour and a full day VIP experience where I can just get in all things you and focus on what you need and help you walk away with something that is tangible and ready to go. So those are some of the coaching packages. The other part of my business that I have been building and continue to build is building out kind of a suite of services to help authors and how they need it. So something I've noticed is there are so many things authors need, and there's so many people who can provide it. And I want to be that hub to help you find the right ones that you can trust. So whether that is to get your website built, to build your author brand, to create a podcast or get pitched on podcasts, to get earned media, everywhere in between, y'all, that's something that the Empower PR team has a group of collaborators and a team that can make that happen for you too. And I think that what makes that interesting is I touch all of that, which means I want to ensure that every single thing you do is strategic and purposeful. And I don't want you to just go do something because it's the new rave, fad, and trend. I want you to do it because it's going to move the marble. And that is what the Empower PR group is all about. We want to empower you as the author to get where you need to get, how you need to get there in ways that feel good for you and your time frame, your budget, your expectations, but to do it through a trusted source so you know that you're going to get good stuff from someone who understands where you are, because that's exactly where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie, this has been so fabulous. In fact, what you have done for me personally is that Everett and I are working on a book together, and that will be out in the next couple months. And it's like, I need to get going on my marketing. So I learned a whole bunch of stuff that, some of it was remembering what things I already knew that I should do, right. But you really have a great way of identifying those things. And for those, again, who are interested in reaching out to Stephanie, send her an email at stephanie@empowerprgroup.com. I put it in the chat, so feel free to copy that down. And this has just been a wonderful hour, Stephanie. Thank you so much for being here. And if you do have additional questions, I know Stephanie would love to be a resource for you and connect you with the right resource, because she is a gem. She is a gem. So thank you again. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And don't forget, it's so important for you to get out there and make your mark. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye-bye.